tonight, first of all, how many people have used 1Password for password management? So a good number. Yeah, what 1Password does is, everybody probably has, I've visited a lot of people in their homes and businesses, and we'll be looking for something, and they'll, their Amazon password, and undoubtedly, 90% of people will pull out a notepad that's in a drawer or in the other room, and it's all ratted out and looks like coffee stained and ripped and worn, and they look through it and nothing's in order. They find their password and they try it and it doesn't work, and they remember it's on another page. So 1Password is a program, and there are many programs and software that will do the same kind of task that 1Password does, but 1Password has been out there for about 5 or 6 years now, and I think that it's the most user-friendly. So what I'm going to do is cover the basics of getting up to speed with 1Password. For the Mac, I'll touch a little bit about how you can also utilize your iOS devices, and then if there's any questions, I'll do a little demonstration of some of the ways you can use it, as using a web browser as well. So here's a little bit about myself. I've been using Apple computers since 1986. I've never used a PC. I have my Apple Certified Support Professional certification up to 10.9. I'll be taking the Yosemite class in May. And I make house calls and business calls from Estero to Marco Island. So 1Password is an app available that's designed to help you manage, create, and store passwords for websites, as well as other tools for managing your digital data. It's available for OS X as well as iOS 8. If you're using iOS 7, there is a 1Password that will still work for that, but as you know, keeping things up to date with the most recent versions is usually the best for the performance of the product. Some of the things that 1Password can help you keep track of: passwords, driver's license numbers, social security numbers, passports, bank accounts, phishing licenses, wireless routers, secure notes. So you may use the Notes or Reminders app on your phone or iPad, and they sync and it's nice. Secure Notes is a way that 1Password can protect sensitive data that you might not want in a note that's kind of available to the public if your computer's logged in. Servers, reward programs, database passwords, email accounts, membership, software licenses. So when you get those software codes that you have to enter, maybe probably not many come on a disk anymore, but you get emailed a lot of serial numbers. Rather than having to search through for your email to look up a serial number from a product that you've had for 2 years and need to update, and they want the serial number, it's a little more tedious. So 1Password's a place you can store that as well. So the theory of 1Password is simple. You create 1Password that is a master password. Then, using the 1Password apps on your computer and your devices, you use that master password to update, unlock, manage, and create different passwords. So the passwords sync between devices using iCloud or Dropbox. So it's very unique and convenient. 2 ways to get 1Password. You can get it directly from the manufacturer. The name of the company is AgileBits, and that's agilebits.com. And you can get it from the Apple App Store. Now, one of the benefits, there are benefits of each. If you buy it from the Mac App Store, you have the choice of choosing iCloud syncing for 1Password, which is convenient and almost automatic. Whereas if you buy the software from AgileBits directly, you can only sync via Dropbox or local Wi-Fi, because if an app is not sold through the App Store, they can't use iCloud to sync. So that's an advantage of using the App Store version of 1Password if you want to use iCloud for syncing. Now, the AgileBits version has its strengths too, but one of which is they can get updates out quicker. So beta versions will be tested and downloaded quicker directly from the manufacturer, rather than there's a waiting period when they have to send an app to Apple for approval. And it might get released 6 weeks or 8 weeks down the line from the one that was available from the AgileBits website. So each kind of has a pluses and minuses. So if you're comfortable with Dropbox sync, then you can download it from AgileBits. I used to sync with Dropbox. I recently started getting it through the App Store for the iCloud sync, as well as if you buy it through the App Store, you have that license for multiple products. So if you have a MacBook and you have a desktop iMac, 1Password can be installed on the devices that you associate with that Apple ID. Now the iOS version of 1Password, if you buy that from the App Store for the phone or the iPad, that can also be transferred among devices because it's a native app for both the iPhone and the iPad. So if you buy it from the Apple App Store, then you'll be able to install it if you have multiple machines associated with that Apple ID. So after you've downloaded and installed 1Password on your computer, you'll be greeted by the welcome screen. It looks like this. So you'll see a little introduction to 1Password, and you'll see on the left there are different little pages on design, 1Password mini and web browsers, syncing. So once you click Let's Get Started at the bottom right, and the PDF of this presentation will be on the website later, so there'll be a link to that in the notes. I'll give that to George. So if you want to download this, you might not want to print it, and you can review it on your own computer. So once you get started, you'll either choose, for this example, you'll say I'm new to 1Password. This is the first time you've installed it. If you've used it before, it'll ask you to find the file that you've synced, probably on iCloud or Dropbox. But let's assume we're new to 1Password. And this is where you create a new vault. So the vault is going to be where all your passwords for all the different websites you go to and other items, credit cards you might want to enter, is protected by this 1Password. Now they suggest that you use kind of a complex password here. One thing that you can do with this that you can't do with a lot of websites is use a sentence with spaces. So if you wanted to say, my dog has 29 fleas, you could actually type it out and spell it with spaces and capitalization, and that would be a password. That's often easier to remember than, QXP, 52, exclamation point, question mark, da 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 da. So that's an easy way. Now this password is not anything that is online. It's only for the device that you're installing 1Password on. So this password can't easily be hacked by a computer program that's going through websites for passwords. The way this password would be hacked, someone would have to physically have access to your machine and guess it on the keyboard. So it's not easily hacked by any methods. As long as you have even if you have a blank login password for your computer, that is that when you open your computer, you don't have to type in an administrator password to get in, this is still protected with the password. So as long as you don't make it, the name of the street you live on or something very basic that might be common knowledge, it would be very difficult for someone to crack this. But also, like any good password, you want it to be kind of complex, but also something you can remember in your head. And this is one that you probably don't want to write down, but it's good to make it both simple and complex, but that's the whole problem with passwords, is that those two often don't match. So what will happen is when you do enter a password, I've entered a password there, it has to match. They'll give you a little bar on how strong they think the password is. It goes from red to yellow to green, so I'm in the green there, but not all the way over, probably because of length. You have to put a hint in the box. I just put usual because I have a standby password that I use that I've enhanced for this. But you have to have something in the hint box, and obviously don't make the hint the password. Because if someone got in, they would see the hint. Now 1Password is a little unique in that, unlike your computer, you could create an admin password for your computer. And say you go away for 3 months and you get back to Naples and you forget your login password. That can be circumvented by some terminal commands or starting up with the utility disk or the backup drive. The 1Password, if you forget your password, you're locked out. There's no backdoor. There's no email for support. So this master password that you create, make sure that it's something that you can remember and use the program for a few days to get familiar with it because you're constantly asked to put in your master password. So if not for anything else, the more you enter it in, the more it will stick in your head. But if you forget this password, and I've seen it happen once that someone forgot the password, but it's because they didn't use 1Password for quite a while. They forgot their password. Luckily, they didn't have a lot of entries. But if you had, 60 or 70, I have over 1,000 entries in my 1Password file. So if I forgot the password, there'd be no way I could recover those. Even if there's a copy in Dropbox, it's still protected by my key. So there's no backdoor. So don't forget the password that you put in on this screen.
You have it tattooed somewhere?
Pardon me?
You have your password tattooed somewhere?
No, I just know in my head. Yeah. Luckily, yeah. Now the next screen you'll see, security is automatic. So what they're saying is no one can access your data when 1Password is locked. There's 2 boxes that you can check. Lock after computer is idle for 5 minutes, and lock when the 1Password window is closed. Now, if you lock it when the 1Password window is closed, you'll be entering the password a lot. So maybe if you close the window the first few days until you get that password stuck in your head, maybe you should check that second box. I personally only check the first box in case I walk away from from the computer for a few moments. 5 minutes is, you don't want to have to enter it every 1 minute if you're playing around with it or using it. But 5 minutes is a good gauge, I think. Rich icons is an option. What that will do is, if websites or apps, you'll see over on the right side there, have little icons, it will actually show those little icons in the 1Password menu next to the entries. So for Etsy and Facebook, you'll see a little logo for the company. It just kind of makes it look nicer. It doesn't take up a lot of memory or anything. So it's kind of just a cosmetic thing, but it looks a lot better than a lot of little generic icons. And everybody's pretty much familiar with a lot of the icons for the apps and websites that they use. Now, 1Password Mini is another way to easily find your password. If you enable 1Password Mini running, you'll see on the bottom there, that's the top toolbar of the Mac screen where the clock and the Apple are. You'll see I have a red circle around the 1Password icon. That's another place you can access 1Password directly from a Finder window or from the menu bar in any application without having to go into your web browser, like the Amazon's website or something, to access 1Password. So I'll show you about the web browser extension in a moment. But 1Password Mini is an easy way, and this is the way where you might put in a quick way to put in a software serial number. So you'll always be able to go down to the dock and click on the 1Password icon if you've kept it in the dock. This is just a quick way to jump into it. And the nice thing is, if it's been 5 minutes and you click on 1Password Mini up in your menu bar, you'll be prompted to enter your master password. But then you have 5 minutes to open 1Password from the dock or use a Safari browser extension without having to re-enter the password. So all the little instances of 1Password, whether they're from the dock, from the app itself, from a browser extension in Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, or 1Password Mini, once you enter your password, you have 5 minutes in all these little places that it can hide where you don't have to enter the password again. Now, then they'll ask you if you want email, and this is where you can, if you download it from the App Store, you see at the bottom of the window there, iCloud syncing is checked. So if you check this, it automatically integrates with iCloud. You're signed into your computer. You've already authenticated it as the administrator. So if you check iCloud syncing there and click Start Using 1Password, you're up and running, and it's backing up to iCloud. Now, the benefit of backing up to iCloud, or you can manually go into Preferences, which I'll show you in a moment, and choose Dropbox, is that if you install it on a device like an iPad or an iPhone, one of the first things it'll ask you is, are you an existing user or is this new? I would recommend putting it on your computer first because the interface is a lot easier to do on a full-size keyboard and everything for entering all these entries. But the beauty of it is if you sync with iCloud or Dropbox, the moment you install it on your iPad or iPhone, it will prompt you, are you an existing 1Password user or are you a new user? You'll say, I'm an existing user. The next screen will say, do you sync with iCloud or Dropbox? You'll pick your syncing method. If you've chosen iCloud, it will automatically populate your phone with everything that was on your 1Password file on your computer. If you sync with Dropbox, it'll ask you to authenticate with your Dropbox username and password once. It'll contact actually the Dropbox app if you have it installed on your device, and then you'll log in with your Dropbox credentials, and then it will sync that file. Yes?
Well, the important thing is the file that is an iCloud or
Yeah, even if someone got into your iCloud account, this file, it can't even be unlocked without the 1Password app, and then you would have to know your login password to even get into it. So even if someone hacked your iCloud account, this is locked behind that second layer of security that is your 1Password password. Now, once you're into 1Password, this is what the main window looks like. It's kind of set up like a lot of Apple apps, like the Finder, like Mail, or like iPhoto, where you have your categories on the left side, in the left column. You've got all items. You can create favorites. You've got places for categories for login, secure notes, credit cards, and identities. And then you've got a trash can. When you want to do your first item manually, let's say you install 1Password, you're sitting at your desk, and you want to put something in to play around with it, there's a plus sign at the bottom of the right column, much as in address book, for example. Then you'll see a list that pops up like this. These are all the different categories that we reviewed briefly earlier of different credentials that you can store in 1Password. So one of the handy ones is the Identity tab. Identity can be used when you go to a new website, and say it's a shopping site and you haven't been there before, and you get to that page where it wants your billing information and your shipping information. When you click Identity in 1Password, I have a post office box for billing and I have a home address for shipping. I have two identities, home and P.O. Box. I can click P.O. Box and it will fill in the shipping section. And I click Home and it fills in the home section with phone number, zip code, address, everything. So that's what you can use identities for. This is sample information in the template for a wireless router. So you'll see if you want to put information for your Wi-Fi router in there, you've got the base station name, the base station password, the IP address, the airport ID, the network name, the wireless security such as WPA, WPA2, WEP maybe, wireless network password, an attached storage password. So the template that they have, and this would be more for reference. You can't use 1Password to fill in airport utility, but you could refer to this for the information that you need to log into airport utility. 1Password automatically can only integrate with browsers, so it can't fill in if you download an Adobe program and need to put in a serial number, you can copy and paste it, but there's no 1Password interface to go to Adobe in here and insert it into a dialog box that a software program brought up. But I'll show you in a moment how it really integrates well with browsers so that you can use 1Password for websites. But that's the template if you chose to put a wireless router information in. Here's sample information in the template for the credit card. So this has the name, the type, the expiration number, if there's a valid date, phone numbers, websites, PIN numbers, interest rates, etc. If you keep your credit cards in 1Password, then when you go to a website, Amazon or coffeeonline.com, and you want to order something, you can just click on the 1Password icon, click on the credit cards, and then choose. I want this on my American Express, or I want this on my Chase Visa, or I want this on my Bank of America card. So 1Password will also keep track of this, and then it will automatically put in the little PIN number, the little 3-digit code that's on the back or the front of the American Express. It'll fill all that in for you simply by clicking on the 1Password. If it's been 5 minutes, you'll have to enter your master password, but that's probably a lot quicker to enter than all the little slots you have to put information in to add a new credit card to a space for an online purchase. So one of the big features, the biggest feature of 1Password that will probably be most useful is installing the browser extensions. So what this does is it puts a small button at the top of your Safari menu bar or your Chrome or your Firefox. I think those are the main 3 browsers that are supported. The way you can install the extensions, you'll have 2 choices. If you click on the 1Password application menu on the top left next to the apple, the 3rd choice down is install browser extensions. Or after you've installed 1Password, the first time you click on 1Password Mini up in the menu bar, which you see on the right there, you'll see a button that says get the extension. That'll take you directly to a page where it downloads. You'll click on your downloads folder. You'll open the extension. So there's the Install Browser Extensions button on the left. You'll be taken to this web page, and it'll be like this. Press the big green button to install the 1Password Safari extension. Now, if you're using a different browser as your default, such as Chrome or Firefox, it'll actually take you to a page where you have 3 buttons like this, one for Safari, one for Chrome, and one for Firefox. Download whatever browser you're currently using so that it can install the extension for that. If you're using multiple browsers, there's a button over on the left of this page. If Safari is your primary, they have an Opera extension now, so I also have Opera installed. So you can click Show All Extensions over under the Safari icon. You get the additional extension so you can use 1Password in all your web applications if you like. You'll get a little dialog box for a warning. Are you sure you want to install? Click the white button that says Install. And then once the extension is in there, you'll see to the left of www.apple.com, there's a little key hole. That's the 1Password icon. And I zoomed in on it at the bottom there. So that's what you'll see, the one that looks like a little key. That's the 1Password menu while you're in Safari, or while you're in Firefox, or while you're in Chrome. So the easiest way to start using 1Password, we saw earlier how you can click the plus sign and enter an address or a credit card or an identity. It's a little easier to enter websites kind of as you go. So once you've installed 1Password and you get to, say I went to iCloud.com or Apple, and you get to the page where you enter your name and password as you normally would, as soon as you hit return to go to the next page, 1Password will pop up one of these save login menus. So 1Password is going to prompt you, do you want to save this new login for Apple? And you click save. You want to save this new login for Twitter? You click save. This is how the easiest way to populate the websites you visit into 1Password's database. Just go to the website, because a lot of times, if you try to do these manually with the plus sign in the 1Password app, you'll hit the plus sign and you'll say enter the address, and you type in bankofamerica.com. But really, that's https://bankofamerica.com/login/?authenticate or something. So you don't always know what the exact website would be. So it's a little easier to just let 1Password guide you through adding the passwords rather than try to go in and add a bunch of websites manually, because a lot of times the addresses will not be wrong, especially if it's a secure website for a bank or an airline or something. So it's as simple as, you'll see this little dialog box. Now you'll also, this is the same time you'll see a little dialog box come up if you're using iCloud Keychain, or if Safari is going to prompt you to save these passwords. So you'll see, you might have a little competition going on. 1Password will kind of be on top. Safari and iCloud Keychain will be a little drop down from the top of the Safari window. And that's a preference. It doesn't certainly hurt to have Safari remember things and 1Password. I've chosen not to use iCloud Keychain. I've chosen not to have Safari remember passwords, simply because of the fact that Safari and iCloud Keychain will still not save certain passwords for financial institutions, for certain airlines, for certain secure sites. Apple won't allow Safari and Keychain to save those passwords, whereas 1Password can handle multiple bank logins where you have to enter your username on one screen and your PIN or password on the next screen. 1Password doesn't have any limits as to any kind of websites or financial sites that you may go to, whereas iCloud Keychain and Safari will not save some sites. So that's why I've chosen personally not to use the Apple Keychain or the Safari Keychain. So you'll notice once you've saved these passwords and click Save, you'll notice when you go back to the 1Password window that we saw earlier with the plus signs at the bottom, you'll now have Apple and Twitter listed, or Apple and American Express and Delta listed. So when you start out, you'll just have a couple. As I said, I'll show you in a moment, I've got over 1,000 items in here because I've been using it for several years. Some websites I might have only gone to once to order envelopes for something. It's still there and I haven't gone back, but if I need to go back, that's where I can access it. Now when you return to a site where you saved the password, so let's say I go to Apple and then I do a lot of other stuff. 2 days later I go back. How you can use 1Password to get back into the iCloud or to Amazon or to Delta Airlines. When you get to the page, you click on the 1Password icon up in the menu bar. A menu will drop down. It will suggest the password that it's stored for the site that you're currently at. So it doesn't make you search through Apple, through Amazon, through Abercrombie and Fitch. It shows you, hey, you were here before. This is the password we save for Apple. So all I have to do at that point is click on the word Apple, and it fills in my email address and my password. It submits it, and I go to the next page instantly. So if you click on the icon, and you haven't used it anywhere else in 5 minutes, this is where, before you see the word Apple appear as a choice to submit information for your username and password, you'll have to enter your 1Password again, so this menu drops down. So that's where that authentication comes in after the 5-minute delay. So at this point, I would have had to enter the password in order to see this menu, and then I can enter Apple. You'll see as well, underneath Apple, there's a choice that says Password Generator. And below that, there's Logins, where if you hover over Logins, you'll see the whole alphabetical list of all the passwords. If for some reason you want to use a different one than the one they think is best for that site. But Password Generator, I'll cover in a moment, that's a way you can create a complex password that you would never possibly be able to humanly remember because the combination doesn't make any sense, but that's what 1Password is for. So as long as you can remember your 1Password, you won't have to remember that your Apple password is 26 characters long. 1Password can make passwords, I think, up to 31 or maybe 36 characters. And a lot of websites won't let you go past, 12 or 16. Some sites won't let you put a symbol in, so 1Password can manage that for you as well with the password generator.
So are you changing your Apple ID at that point?
No, when you're not changing it, you would still have to get to the page where you would go into settings, you'd have to go to the Apple ID, change your password page, then you could use the password generator. So the password generator will give you a random number, and you can slide a little slider over to go from 6 digits to 31. You can check a box and make it uppercase and lowercase, so there's quite a bit of flexibility there. But you wouldn't really use it unless you're probably on a new website, or unless you were on the page, your Amazon settings page, and you went into the security section and said you wanted to change your password from Snoopy123 to one that 1Password is going to suggest. That's when you would click on the password generator. And then 1Password will automatically remember. You'll get a choice, when we saw before, Save New Login. That top menu, if you click on the arrows there's another choice there. It says Update Existing Login. So if you do go to Amazon and you use 1Password to get into your Amazon account, and then you go to the administration page of Amazon to where you want to change your password, and you tell 1Password, give me a complex password. Once it enters that, a box like this will pop up with the default selection as Update Existing Login. So then you can simply replace the previous Amazon password with the new one that it just made up.
You probably have to copy it, because it won't automatically go in.
Well, to fill it in on some sites, I've never had it not go in. Yeah, when I told it to fill in, when you hit fill, I've never had it not go in, but it could not. For some sites, it might not allow that. But the nice thing is 1Password also keeps a history where you can say, okay, I gave a new password for Amazon, but for some reason you want to go back and see what your previous Amazon password was. You can go into the 1Password screen where you see your items here, and you'll be able to look at the password history of both passwords that were generated and passwords that you enter manually in 1Password stored for you.
What if you're not on your own computer? Can you access 1Password?
Only if you have like your phone or iPad with you. So if 1Password is not installed, like if you were at your kid's computer or something, you don't have your 1Password stored on there, and you couldn't even open it through. I don't think you could open it through Dropbox unless you installed the app, and you'd have to reinstall the app on their computer. It wouldn't be easy.
You need to take those passwords with you if you're going to be.
That's why the syncing between the devices is handy, because if you need to get somewhere and you're away from home, for example, and you're not on your own computer, you could use your phone or iPad to pull up a password. Yes?
Maybe I'm not naive or something, but let's say that I'm sitting down at a browser session where I'm going to be visiting multiple sites. How many times do I have to enter my password.
Your one password?
Yes.
Every 5 minutes, if you have that box checked that says
Not if you use it repeatedly.
leave. No, yeah, but if you're using it, it keeps extending that 5-minute time. So if you use it and you go to another website in 3 minutes, the 5-minute clock starts over again. So you can use it for quite a bit, and at one point you'll walk away or it'll be too long and it'll ask you again. But if you have that one window checked, that 5-minute interval is extended from the last time you used it. So it could go on for quite a while if you're bouncing around the web.
My version of one password allows me to add 20 minutes or something like that. When I go into preferences, I can extend the amount of time. So apparently, the conversions seem to have different.
Yeah, let me look and see.
What you're showing is quite what I have. Not that it matters.
So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is my admin side of the computer. I'm not logged into anything here, so let me quit that for a moment. Yeah, that may very well be a possibility in the preferences, where you can set larger intervals.
When you're in that admin thing, I have another question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I mean, regarding that, if you wanted to change your master password, can you show us how you would do that?
Yeah, let me get into one password. Because you can change your master password, but if you forget it, you're out of luck. So let me go to.
But I have a question also. If you use the password generator, let's say for your eBay account or Amazon, now you want to access the Amazon account from a totally different computer because you're traveling.
Right.
So what do? You don't have your person not even aware of that complex password that has been generated by one password. So how do you access your account then?
The only way you can access it is if you have the password on your one password on your phone, which is synced through the cloud or Dropbox.
If you don't, you can't do it. Huh?
You could probably print it out, but that would defeat the purpose.
Okay.
I know it'll let you print because I've actually saved a PDF and put it in a safe deposit box. I printed a PDF of it in case, because my wife doesn't know a lot of this stuff, but I've left it for her in case. Yeah, I mean, anything could happen. So let me get in here and I'll show you. I have to give her your number, yeah, if I kick the bucket. Okay, so let's go. So here's one password. Let's go into settings and we'll launch one password. So you'll notice I'm in the one password mini in the Finder right now. That's always available in the menu bar at the top. No matter what app you're in, you can get to this. I've just logged in, so if I go to settings here and I say open one password, I'm going to be in without having to, put my password in again because I just authenticated to get into one password mini. So if we go to preferences, security, this is where you can change your master password. So you have to know your current password to do this. If you didn't know your current password, you would never get to this screen. So you'd be out of luck. So that's your new password. You always have to put a hint in. You cannot leave that blank. Now let's check here we are, yeah, security. Lock after computer is idle for a minute. And I don't even have that checked. So you can uncheck that and just leave it open as long as you're logged into the computer. Conceal passwords, that means that when you go to AAA, so here's my AAA account, and if you there's a copy where you could copy and paste if you weren't using this in the browser for some reason, but there's also a button where you can say reveal. See, that's a very strong password there, Scotty3532, so I have to probably redo that. But so reveal will let you see what password you have for these different accounts. And see, that was my old standby for years, but luckily I don't use these sites, but that's where, this is the master password list. You'll see there are 1,196 items. This is where you can put your different credit cards in, your identities.
And how do you print out the...
If you go to File Print, you have to enter your master password.
Okay.
And then you'll have a choice. I think it'll ask you next, do you want to print all items or selected items? 1,165 items. It might take a moment, but I don't particularly use secure notes you see on there on the left, but I have clients that do, and it's a good place to put things that you would normally put in notes. But if you put them in here, it's safe. Yeah, so this will be 313 pages. So this is the PDF I saved. You know,
Double-sided will only be 260.
yeah. On so I saved this on a flash drive, and it's in my safe deposit box. This is everything, you know. So, but some of these, you know, you'll never. These are different websites I've made in the past. So it's a really good in memberships. You can put your different membership software licenses I've used. You know, Bento isn't even out anymore, but there's my serial number if I ever need it.
Jim, you have to purchase one password for your iDevice and your Mac separate.
Correct. I think the going price for the iOS version is $15, $14.99. I know, like on Black Friday, they had sales on everything where you could get these big discounts, you know, for half price. For a while, they were giving it away for free this year. So once in a while, they have a special, but normally I think the price is $15 for the iOS app, $50 for the Mac version from either Agile or the App Store. Agile does offer some things like $80 for a family plan. You can put it on 3 or 4 computers, you know. So if you go to Agile Bits, if you wanted to, you know, you buy your wife and kids in different places, 1Password, you can get better deals than that without everybody having to share your Apple ID version that you bought from Apple with individual licenses from Agile Bits directly.
What is their free version? What is their free version?
Well, they have a free trial. If you go to agilebits.com, you can get a free trial for 30 days. What I was speaking of was for a while, at some period, they were giving, it might have been their anniversary, they were giving away the iOS app for free a month or 2 ago. But it's not free anymore, so.
Since you're on iOS, I have a real problem. Okay, in trying to sync, I discovered my Dropbox and my 1Password was not syncing. So I have iOS 1Password and I have a Mac 1Password. So I just discovered as we were talking here that it tells me one of the reasons I'm not syncing is I have 2 vaults. I have my vault and I have a Dropbox vault, and it's saying I have number of items are different. And it's saying, should I merge these 2 vaults in order to be able to sync? I've never seen it before because I've never really accessed it.
Well, that's because you haven't seen that because you might not have been having a problem.
I have looking at my Dropbox 1Password, I noticed that it hasn't synced in like 6 months or something like that. So my problem has been is that they're not syncing automatically, and now I discovered that I have 2 vaults showing up, and I haven't really set 2 vaults up.
I would go into a Dropbox, maybe in a Finder window, and see if you can tell which one. If maybe one is old, I don't know if that will tell you dates. Does that tell you dates on when that one was modified?
On Dropbox?
In that window?
No, not in this window.
But I think if you went to a Finder, you'd be able to see date modified and check that. Maybe one was when you set it up. Do they have numbers? I would just see if there's more recent. But if they're close, if you merge them, it shouldn't duplicate any entries, but it should fill gaps.
Which one would it take? If I merge the drop, would it take the 1Password as the primary one and set that up, or would it take the Dropbox as the primary?
What's your current sync method? Dropbox?
Yes.
I would think it would take the Dropbox, just because that's your primary sync. As if mine were iCloud.
Would it take that? Okay. So I'm going to do it, and we're going to find out.
What I would do first, go to your Finder on your computer. Hold down the Option key. Drag a copy of one of them, using the Option key. That'll make a copy of it to your desktop.
Right.
Just in case something goes haywire, you'll have a backup. Maybe drag them both to your desktop. But make sure you use the Option key, because if you just drag them, it'll move them, and they won't be in Dropbox. But I would do that just for a safety net. Then click Merge.
And then, of course, you figure it.
And then it might be one of those things where you don't notice for 3 months when you're looking for some random website, but that's why I would create a backup doing the Option drag. Yep.
When you changed from Dropbox to iCloud, did you have to pay the other $50?
Oh no. When you go into preferences in 1Password and you go to sync, you can change syncing. And what it will do, if you're in Dropbox and you want to switch to iCloud, it will delete the Dropbox data file and disable, well, it will actually disable the syncing. It won't. It'll create a fresh copy of your data on iCloud. So it won't delete the file on Dropbox, but it'll create a fresh copy on iCloud based on what you have now. So you can switch, but you don't have to buy the app again.
Jeff, you said you were going to show us how to put 1Password into Dropbox.
Yeah, what the easiest way would be go to Preferences, like you see on this window. Go to Change Syncing, because by default, it's going to make it easiest to set up with iCloud when you install it.
Yeah, I bought it through, not through Apple.
So you bought it from Agile,
Yeah.
correct? So yeah, if you go to the Sync tab in Preferences, yours probably says Sync with Dropbox, or it will say Change Syncing if it's already syncing with iCloud. When you click that, I don't want to delete this data, but when you disable Sync, you'll get to a window that has a choice of Dropbox. And when you click that, you'll authenticate with your Dropbox credentials, your name and password for Dropbox. You'll hit Agree, and then it'll put a copy of your files up on Dropbox.
But I won't be able to use it on my iPad unless I purchase 1Password for the iPad.
You'd have to purchase 1Password for the iPad, and when you set that up, you'd say you're an existing user, sign into your Dropbox account, then it would grab the data that's now on Dropbox and put it into your database here. But the nice thing about the syncing, whether you use iCloud or Dropbox, if you do change your Amazon password one day and you pick up your iPad 2 days later, or 2 minutes later, it's going to be changed there too. So the syncing is like your address book in your calendar. It syncs passwords.
I downloaded an upgrade, I think it's 5.
I think 1Password 5 is the most recent. Yeah, for the.
And I downloaded it and I tried to install it and it won't install. I'm in Yosemite.
This is Yosemite, and I didn't have any. Did you buy it from the App Store, or
No, actually,
what? Did it give you an error, or did it just quit?
it just wouldn't install. Some message came up and it won't install. I don't have to do with the extension or something.
I would try to go back to maybe Agile. You can download it again when you go to your account on their page. Maybe try to download a fresh.
I did it 3 times.
And it didn't. Do you still have that 1Password 4?
Yes.
It could be a preferences issue, but yeah, it was giving you some error. Take a screenshot of that and email it to me, and I can research it. But I don't know, because I can't think. But it's got to be something with preferences for 1Password 4. But since it's an upgrade, that really shouldn't interfere. So if you can get the error, we could research a little more. So let me know if you find that, because that would be the way. Now, another way to sync with 1Password, if you're really paranoid about keeping stuff online, there's a box here that says use Wi-Fi to sync. If you check that, then you can open up the 1Password app on your phone or iPad. You get on the same network as your computer. On the iPhone or iPad, you select Settings and Sync, and then your phone shows you a little 4-digit or 5-digit code that you can then put in on your computer screen, and they will sync wirelessly without having to use Dropbox or iCloud. I wouldn't recommend that way, probably, unless you're really paranoid, or if you don't mind syncing, as often as you change passwords, because otherwise it's only synced as good as the last time we did the Wi-Fi sync. It's not automatic, it's manual. You have to be at both devices and have it in your hand. So that's an option.
Jerry would probably
Yeah, so with that, and that's an option. Backups are kept for 1Password. You see, I had January 19th, I have 1294. On May 5th, I had 1092. So the backups, they're hidden in a preferences folder in the library. So it's not really an easy place to get to, but they are backed up. And that's where they all are. So in the backups in the library. Browser extensions, you can also install browser extensions from here. So one way, let's go back to the show here.
You just use Watchtower, or do you use Watchtower?
I don't use Watchtower. Oh, I installed, do you see that weird stuff that was going on there on the screen? I installed that San Francisco font, and it didn't go too well, and I have all these little symbols, so I have to uninstall that. I was trying to install that new font that they were talking about, and it didn't work too well. So now the iOS app, I'll just kind of cover a couple of the screens on that because it's a little different animal. One nice thing about it is if you have a 5S or a 6, when you get in, you can authenticate Touch ID. So you'll see this screen, you can get in with your fingerprint or your thumb to unlock one password for your device. Now, if you restart your phone, just like when you restart your phone, for some reason, you have to manually put in your code. You can't use your thumb, your print to unlock it. After you restart, you have to create a 4-digit code for one password as well. You'll have to enter that the first time to enable the Touch ID again after a restart. Now this is where, on your phone, when you go into settings on 1Password, at the bottom there, you'll see the blue settings button that's highlighted. And this is where if you click the sync tab, you can select the sync service on your phone, whether it be iCloud or Dropbox. So if you did change your computer, you would want to change your device. And it's under settings, sync, and change that. The main 1Password screen on the iOS device, on the iPhone anyway, kind of looks like this. You've got 1,165 items, your credit cards, your identities, your passwords, your software, your memberships, logins. And you can customize what's shown here. Like I don't have any software serials here, but if I hit the plus sign, I'd be able to add my software serial numbers that are synced because I have some software serial numbers in the version here.
How do you delete if you have doubles in the same?
On the iPad or iPhone?
No, on my iMac.
On the iMac, let me go back to my... Yeah, you just hit delete. There's also a trash can. Yeah, so if I go into 1Password... Open 1Password. Yeah, for example, I can go into logins. I was just looking at B&H photo. So see, I have all these old B&H photos. I have one for Mac.com. So I can just hit delete on the keyboard. It says, do you want to delete it? And you move it to the trash. Or you can select one and hit the trash can at the bottom left. And it will delete it without prompting you. Do you want to delete this?
I was paranoid about it.
Yeah, it's hard to inadvertently delete anything. Any other question? Oh, another neat thing you can do. Say I go to credit cards and I need to give my wife my Visa card or something. I can hit, there's a share menu there. So if you needed to give someone a password for some reason, you can send this like in a message. But the person that you send it to has to have 1Password. Because when they get this, it will open in their instance of 1Password on their device or computer. So if you share it, it doesn't automatically send your credit card number to that person. It's encrypted, and they have to have 1Password, but it has a key that allows them to open this file for a one-time installation. So that's how you can easily share, and it works also from the iPad and iPhone. So you can share it. You can also copy and paste if you need to insert it. On the security
audit, bottom left on the sidebar.
Oh, let's see. So that's Watchtower, and I don't use that. Here's weak passwords. So those are all my Scotty 3532s that I haven't done anything in years. Duplicate passwords. So any place you've used the same password twice.
Why don't you use Watchtower?
I've never even turned it on.
Because it actually does what you're doing. It really detects weak passwords.
Manually. So that's a tool I haven't even used. So I'll have to check into that.
And if there's some vulnerability on some of the sites, it'll tell
Yeah, because one thing you can go to is, let's see. I know there's a place where you can see, on the iPhone anywhere, where you can see generated passwords. Like when you can, I've seen a list somewhere, let's go to here, password generator. You can go to a place, I've seen somewhere a listing of generated passwords, but I can't remember where I saw it, where you can find out what password you've used one password to create for you. You know, if you pick some 20-digit password that you've had one password generate, there's some place you can find.
Would you find it, just open up any one of your accounts, and you usually see it at the bottom of the account.
It'll show here, yeah. Let's see if I have one, Adobe. Here's previously used passwords. You know, so you'll see that, and that's where, oh, this is a generated password, I think.
Excuse me, do you recommend changing your passwords to a generated password?
I've been slowly doing it as I go. It's one of those things, it's very difficult to try to sit down and do that one day, like if it's a rainy day and you say, I'm going to change the password. It's very time consuming, it's frustrating because it's just tedious and you're worried you're going to forget something or mess something up. But I've been going through slowly as I've gone to some of the websites and changed the passwords. I mean, I haven't been diligent about it by any means, but it's not a bad habit to get into because if you start using this and using it well, that's really what it's designed for. I mean, because the password requirements that we have now, you know, with uppercase, lowercase, a certain number of digits, it used to be 6, then it was 8, now it's 13, 14, 16. You know, so it's only getting more complex, and the human mind can't, you know, process all this, and that's what these tools are for. So, you know, use these programs like this that will help you manage this stuff that you couldn't humanly keep track of 965 different website passwords if they were all unique and random. That's what we have the tools for. So.
Is there a program where they'll make you regenerate a password all anyway? And if you use a generated one, and then now your generated one won't work because the site that you're connecting into says, you know, every so often you have to change it.
Well, in that case, you could regenerate.
Regenerate?
You could just use it to generate a new one to replace the prior. And then it will give you the option to update an existing login, and then it will record the new instance of that password.
Does it always, you know, when you do what he just mentioned, you have to populate the first entry, and then you have a second entry to affirm it's going to be the same. Will it populate both boxes? Yes.
When you tell it to enter, it will.
Or will?
Yeah, so let's see if I go into like Reddit. Well, I'm not connected to the internet. Okay, so let me go to a site where I can enter a password. So here, I'm signed in here, so if I log out and I go to here, and see I have 3, one of these is, which is probably not. But see how it fills it in? And it logs me in all in one step. So now if I went to preferences here and went to password email, and I said my current password, and I could go here, hover over that, I'll copy and paste because I don't know if it will fill. But then in the new password fill, there's iCloud keychain suggesting. I could go to 1Password and say password generator and make that a little longer. And you can check this box that says pronounceable. I don't know how you would really pronounce that, but I guess it's possible. And then you can say digits or hyphens or symbols at the bottom so you can, you know, you can make it totally impossible. So if I say fill here, you see how it filled in both the spaces there?
Yeah.
Now if I hit save, it's going to prompt me to update my existing login. And I'm going to hit update. So now I've just changed my Reddit password. And it says down here your password has been updated. and now it'll be on my phone. Next time I try to access that, I'll use it. Now, one thing on the phone, if you want to use 1Password on your phone or iPad, they don't have a menu bar at the top of the browser where you can click a little icon. So when you go into the 1Password app on your device, and you go to a login, I know it's a big screen, but it's small from back there, I know. So if I go to a login, and let me show you what it looks like on the So since the iOS screen does not have menu bar, the 1Password app has a mini browser. So on the left here, I've gotten to my login for B&H Photo. And you see where I have it circled in red, it says website. So that's actually the website login for B&H Photo. It's not just bnhphoto.com, it's something about cart and such that I saved. So then when I tap on that link on my iPhone, all I have to do is tap on that website. It opens up this screen on the right that's actually a mini browser where I'm logged into B&H Photo, and it says, "Good afternoon, Jeff." So it's not a full Safari type. You don't have your tabs and your bookmarks and everything, but it will take you into that website using your credentials on your device at that moment. So that's how you could log in to a site. The other way you could do it is you could copy and paste, go back from 1Password into Safari, and paste your password if it was something complex. So if you didn't want to use 1Password's browser, you could use the copy command and copy and paste from 1Password. Jump back into Safari, type in your email, and then copy or paste the password.
You have to purchase a license for your iPad and your iPhone?
No, if you get the iOS version, it can install on both devices. So it's, yeah, it'll appear in purchases on your other device if you go to the App Store, and then you can just download it. It'll be a different interface for the iPad version because it's a little bigger screen and horizontal by default, but you'll get both for the same price, as long as you have the same Apple ID on both phones. If it's your son's or wife's phone, they have to purchase a copy for their Apple ID.
If I have a PC and put a password on that, can I put it on the iPad and the iPhone and have those sync?
I believe that, from what I've read, the PC version does not look like this. It doesn't have the nice interface that this does, but I think it uses Dropbox syncing. So the Dropbox really doesn't depend on the 1Password as much as it depends on the Dropbox. So I think that if you had a PC version of 1Password, the Dropbox part would be the part that brought it over. Because I think the data file is probably the same. The interface is different on the PC. So it was designed for a Mac originally, and then they made a PC version because of demand. But I don't think the PC version has all the features we might have talked about here. But I think the syncing should work because it's done via Dropbox. You wouldn't have iCloud syncing probably on PC, maybe through the iCloud control panel, but I don't know enough about that to know if it would handle this. But Dropbox would certainly work. Any other questions or comments? Or yes.
Since we are so young, could we put just the password from 1Password into our mail for my son or whatever?
Only if they were going to have access to your computer.
Right.
I would recommend making someone aware of your 1Password
Right.
and know how to use it. If your son doesn't know how to use an Apple computer and you tell him about it, it's going to be grief to him. But let him know. I showed my wife how to use it, and she didn't. I don't know if she understood, but she could get to it. I hope need be, and figure this stuff out. But yeah, I would definitely. It's one of those things that you can make aware. If in worst case, do what I did. Save a PDF and put it on a flash drive and put it in a safe deposit box. That way, if they wanted to, they can print out 300 pages.
Well, you could also give it to your lawyer as well.
Right, and another,
But it changes so often.
you'd have to update that because it didn't change. Now, if I go back into 1Password, another thing you can do. Oh, let me get back to the right screen. I'll show you. You can also export under the File menu in 1Password. There's an export button, and you can export it to like a comma-separated value file that you can put into Excel. that would be easy to work with and update. You know, every time you update it, I would do a new copy. But if you go into 1Password and go to File, Export, All Items, and then enter your master password, this is where it'll say you could send it in a text file or a CSV file or like a spreadsheet. So this is where it gives you the choice that I was talking about earlier, printing. It's not when you print, it's when you export. So you could put all this data into a regular text file or a spreadsheet if you wanted to. But then again, be cautious with that because it kind of defeats the purpose of having software like this if you put it into some document that's not protected. So if you needed something for a backup or to give to your attorney or something, that would be something safe probably. They wouldn't have to jump through any hoops to access the information.
Any other questions?
Maybe one question. I understand that 1Password would protect the security of my computer or iDevice, but it doesn't really protect me against hackers invading one of the companies I deal with. Let's use the Target example.
Right.
Am I correct in that?
Well, the only way it could protect you there is if you used it to create a more complex password. But then again, if Target gets hacked and someone steals the list of passwords and they're not encrypted, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, any online security is really only as good as your password, the first gate to keeping intruders out and such. So 1Password can definitely help you. If you start going through slowly, and next time you go to Amazon, hey, you know what, I'm going to let it generate a password for me. Next time you go to Delta Airlines to make a reservation, hey, let me let it generate a password. But if you're going to do that, you have to use it faithfully, because if you're using different devices and if you don't have it on your iPhone and you're at your daughter's house and you need to get into your Amazon account, you're locked out, you know. So if you're going to use it, try to use it 100% and be faithful about it. I'm pretty much dependent on it. I use it 6 or 7 times a day easily, from identities to credit cards to logins. It's just very useful, and I think if you start utilizing it, it'll really be a time saver for you.